Hi, let's look at Icon, ticker symbol ICX, the third coin in the interoperability space. Icon is currently at $1.35. It's at market rank 99, so barely in the top 100 with a market dominance of 0.04%, a bit under $1 billion in market cap. Now we will not go into the fundamentals of Icon, but we will look at the charts. We will look at the US dollar chart, the long-term US dollar chart. We will look at ICX measured in Bitcoin, that's this chart over here. Then ICX relative to Ethereum. So how much does ICX out or underperform Ethereum? So you can see it tends to underperform. But then we will also compare Icon. We will compare Icon with its competitors, Cosmos and Quant. How is Icon actually stacking up? So what we will do is we will divide the Icon price by the Atom price, the Cosmos Atom price. And we will check relative performance. That's this chart over here. Icon divided by Atom. And then we do the same for Quant. This is the Quant US dollar price. This is the Icon US dollar price. And when we divide those, look at relative performance, we see how Icon is relatively performing to Quant. And the reason why we do these comparative analyses is because the space in which they operate is somewhat the same. The market caps are not that different either, right? 1 billion, 2 billion, 4 billion. And so you probably don't want to own the whole space, right? You don't want to diversify too much within crypto because it's still a market where we will likely see a long-term consolidation, where we will see a few winners taking over everything. And so you want to check within a space, how do competitors stack up to each other? So first of all, when we look at Icon in US dollars, we see some kind of a trading range, right? So in the top, we were at around 10 US dollars. And in the bottom, we were at around 10 cents. So this is obviously quite a drop, 99% to be exact. And that's way more than most altcoins bled during this time, during 2018-19. If you want to know what Bitcoin did during that time, Bitcoin fell around 84%. Still an impressive bear market, right? It's crypto after all. But with 84%, right, you still have 16% left. If you lose 99%, you've basically lost it all, right? So that's just a warm reminder. If there is a bear market, you probably don't want to be in small altcoins, no matter what altcoin actually. If we look at Cardano, we don't see a 99% drop, but we see something like 95%, still a lot. So timing the overall market does make sense, especially when handling altcoins. Now that being said, if you buy at the right time, right from the bottom to today, we got a 10x. So that's obviously where everybody wants to be invested. Now let's do this comparison directly. So this is now Icon in Bitcoin, and we got the big hype during the ICO phase, a 10x movement, and then since the bubble burst, we lost against Bitcoin 98%. So it would have been way better to just be in the safe Bitcoin. And now, if we look at the recent price movements, we are more or less in tandem with Bitcoin. So we got some kind of a resistance over here, some kind of support. And currently we are pretty much in the middle of that trading range, a potential gain of more than 90%, a potential loss of more than 50%. Now, what I usually like to look at is actually not the price in Bitcoin, but the price in Ethereum. And that's because Bitcoin investors, they are very different to altcoin investors. A lot of people, they just buy Bitcoin to diversify, to own this for the long term, maybe to cancel out the stock price movements, because the correlation between Bitcoin or between crypto in general and traditional investments such as stocks or property, the correlation is pretty low. And so you own Bitcoin as a diversifier. But when you get into altcoins, when you go down this altcoin list and you go lower and lower on your market caps, your idea is you want to outperform, right? You go lower on those market caps because your beta on your investment goes up. Your price movements, they go up. The volatility is higher on smaller coins. You get more percentage gains or losses. And so you want to outperform the comparatively safe Ethereum with your riskier, low market dominance altcoin. Icon has a market dominance of 0.04%. Ethereum has one of 20%. So Icon is way smaller. But what we see is over the very long term, Icon is not able to outperform Ethereum. So this is now the Icon chart in Ethereum, the Icon price divided by the Ethereum price. If we just take some median price over here and compare this to the current price, we see an underperformance of 90%. So not too pretty over the long term. This underperformance is also pretty much a stable trend. That being said, if you do time these pumps right, you can potentially make 200% versus Ethereum Ethereum, or maybe like 60% if you don't catch the exact top. And this also happens several times. And so now we are relatively low again. So it wouldn't be impossible to go up by like 100% versus Ethereum. But holding this over the very long term is probably not a good idea. Unless you've got strong fundamental conviction, you're very convinced that this team, this project will outperform the market, then you can also see it the other way around, right? You can see we are more or less at an all-time low versus Ethereum. Icon is really cheap. The market says that this altcoin is not doing well. But if you know the project and the fundamentals better than the average market participant, if you have your fundamental analysis right and you see this trend turning around, then potentially you can win quite a lot, right? The upside is big, but if you do such a contrarian investment, you really need to know what you're doing. You have to know something that most people don't. And so simply based on the charts, without such knowledge, long-term holding Icon doesn't look too attractive. Now let's look at Atom. Cosmos Atom, the first in the interoperability space. This is the Atom US dollar chart, and this is now Icon divided by Atom. And interestingly enough, we seem to have some kind of a trading range over here. We can draw a few resistances and a few support lines. Pretty much in the middle of that range now, a potential increase of more than 100% is possible. Potential loss of 60% is possible as well, but there's nothing really interesting here, right? I wouldn't say that Icon is particularly expensive or particularly cheap or does have any kind of interesting chart patterns here versus Atom. So if I were to decide to only buy one of them, since the performance between those two coins is relatively similar, at least on this time scale here, I would probably go with the larger coin, right? Because more market cap in general means less risk, and less risk is good if you get the same return. And that's what we see. We see similar returns, but a higher market cap for Atom, for Cosmos Atom. And so why go with the smaller market cap, right? Now Quant is also very interesting because it has performed quite nice recently. Look at this US dollar chart, very impressive. And so if we now divide the Icon price by the Quant price, Quant is outperforming. And this looks almost like a formality now, 99.7% underperformance of Icon. So I mean, you have to decide by yourself, right? If you're not completely broadly diversifying and buying everything, but you want to pick the winner within a certain space, and this is now the interoperability space. If you're just looking to buy one of those coins, why would you bet on Icon if you don't have any specific knowledge that would tell you that Icon would in the end beat Quant? I don't really see a reason for that. For me, this looks pretty clear. Quant has all the momentum right now. I'm not saying that Quant can't come down from here, right? It's obviously very highly priced right now, and drops are possible. I mean, these drops are also 90% within that rally, right? And even something that looks like a little blip over here, you know, is a 40% drop. So you do have volatility. This kind of performance doesn't come for free. But over the quote unquote long run, right, 3 years, Icon didn't stand a chance. So if after this video you're interested in buying Quant instead, or you're thinking of maybe swapping your allocation around, selling some Icon, buying some Quant. There's also videos about Quant on my channel. I'm not chilling this to pump up the price. This channel is way too small to have any influence on any of those coins. But I'm just simply giving my personal opinion here, and feel free to argue with this. Obviously, I'm open to a lot of different thoughts here, especially if you have fundamental reasons here. If you've got really strong reasons why this should turn around and why the market is wrong, then this is very, very valuable information, because obviously when you do make contrarian investments, you see the real outperformance, right? That's when most people don't buy. That's when everybody is giving up. And if you can stand against that and you've got good reasons and those turn out to be right over the long term, then you're the winner. So if you've got a good reason to get in here, please let me know. Please let me know this in the comments. I'm not just saying this for the algorithm to get more engagement on this video. I seriously mean it. Having a good buy while other people are selling is always really great, right? You want to be right when other people are wrong. So it would be great if you could share this with us in case you have a different opinion. Now you can share this in the comments, but now I do make a little bit of promotion, because we've also got a Telegram channel, the Bitcoin Strategy channel. We are around 400 people over there. You can find us by clicking the link in the video description below, or you can also simply search within the Telegram app for Bitcoin Strategy channel. Would be great to see you there as well. And if you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe as well, obviously. I publish videos every single day. See you next time. Bye bye.